Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time the question comes to us from Paradox8493, who asked, "Hey Thor, if you were to replace Kathleen Kennedy but forced to do a Rey film before anything else and have her rebuild the Order, how would you go about it? What would be the basic plot outline of your Rey movie post Episode 9? And let's assume you get most of the control, except Rey obviously has to survive the movie and is the main character." Alright, so first of all here we have to quickly discuss what I think is clearly the biggest obstacle or challenge the Rey movie faces, and no, it's not just simply the fact that a lot of people don't like Rey. I mean, yeah, that's kinda part of it, but the real problem, or what that leads to when she's the one who rebuilds the Jedi Order, is that it'll feel like, to some fans, that anything and everything Rey accomplishes should have been done or accomplished by Luke instead. That he should have been the one to rebuild the Jedi Order, that essentially she has taken his place or taken the story that should have been his. And so, no matter what, there's just some fans, maybe a lot of fans, who will likely never accept or forgive Rey for replacing Luke, period. That's simply how they feel, and they'll likely refuse to ever watch the movie. And I know that some others will want to call those fans petty, or maybe something much, much worse, or they'll say those fans just can't stand that it's a woman rebuilding the Order, or something along those lines. Which is just such a disingenuous argument, because preferring or supporting or choosing one idea, person, or thing over another does not automatically equate to hatred for the unfavored or unpicked. I mean, if you ask me if I want pepperoni or sausage on my pizza and I pick pepperoni, that doesn't suddenly mean I hate sausage and think it should never be on a pizza ever again. It just means I'd prefer pepperoni in this particular instance, because there could be another scenario in the future where I might pick sausage because I do like it and I think it's fine on a pizza. And I apologize for putting that in such a simplistic or childish way. I do not mean to insult anyone's intelligence out there, but there really does seem to be a lot of people who nowadays cannot understand that picking or preferring one thing over another doesn't mean complete rejection of, again, the one that wasn't picked. Hell, in all reality, you could be a huge fan of the character Rey and still be upset that Luke wasn't the one to rebuild the Jedi Order, and she now will be. And what you have to keep in mind here when it comes to the whole Luke versus Rey debate is that a lot of fans waited decades to see Luke on screen again, and to see his new Jedi Order, to see that he had passed on what he had learned, as Yoda instructed him to do, and as we all assumed he would. That's what they would have preferred over literally anything and everything else, not just over Rey. And so, basically, it's not so much that they hate the mere thought of Rey or a woman rebuilding the Order, as much as they greatly wanted it to be Luke who did that because of a love of that character, plain and simple. That then kind of brings us back to the question of, can anything be done about this? Is there any way to fix the problems with Rey and Luke? And what should the Rey movie be like in an attempt to do that? And so if I were truly president of Lucasfilm, and I was again forced, presumably by Disney, to go on making this Rey movie where she rebuilds the Jedi Order, one of my top priorities as president of Lucasfilm, who wanted both to tell the best possible story and wanted what was best for the company I run, well, it'd be to repair as much damage done to Luke Skywalker, one of my best and most profitable characters, as possible, while also attempting to build up Rey in the hearts and minds of those who do not currently like the character, if that's possible, because I'm apparently building the future of the franchise off the character, with her being the one to rebuild the Jedi Order. And though Kathleen Kennedy has expressed doubt about using the Force ghost of Luke Skywalker in the actual upcoming Rey movie, implying Rey would be learning more from the ancient Jedi texts she took from the Force tree on Ahch-To, more so than anything else, well, I'd instead go all in on the idea of using Luke's Force ghost, and obviously Mark Hamill, and pairing him with Rey and or Daisy Ridley. In fact, I'd explore the idea of Force ghosts in more depth, have them and the reason behind their existence be a big part of the movie after Rey heard all the Jedi and was granted all their power at the end of the Rise of Skywalker while facing Palpatine. Because I mean, if all the Jedi just sort of get to hang around after death instead of becoming one with the Force and losing their consciousness, as Lucas has told us, and they also get to fuse their power together into a sort of giant battery for a living Jedi to draw upon, and this is all essentially confirmed in the New Timelines book, well, it makes everything we've learned about Force Ghosts, that it's this great gift that requires training to achieve, and that only they get to retain their consciousness after death, it makes that all pretty irrelevant unless there's something more to it than that. Something they're actually supposed to do, a reason they exist or need to exist. And so, having to work with the interesting stuff that was added to the lore at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, including Palpatine somehow being all the Sith, or this implication that, like the Jedi, their power had also been, I don't know, kind of building up and storing in the Force itself, which is not exactly an idea I hate at face value. I'm kind of okay with this idea that the dark side is, or using it, is a corruption of the Force, and that it leaves some sort of residual effect or residual stain upon the Force. And so if that's what Palpatine meant when he said he's all the Sith, that he had somehow found a way to harness all this corruption or dark side energy in the Force left behind by the history or legacy of the Sith, maybe because he himself had died and sort of come back from being a part of this and had garnered an understanding of all this dark side energy, well, it would then kind of explain why they were having so much trouble making him a new body, or one that could contain all of his power, which we learn is indeed a thing, as well as it explains how his super lightning could disable like a couple thousand ships. It would also, I suppose, explain why the Jedi had been building up like a battery in the Force in order to be a counterbalance of sorts to the dark side that was building up. And we could sort of assume that both of these powers had destroyed or cancelled each other out during the epic battle between Rey and Palpatine, and that all was now well with the Force, and that the Force ghosts were there to stop any of this from happening all over again. That the prophecy of the Chosen One was really about destroying the Sith from within the Force once and for all, and then the Skywalkers, mainly Anakin, becomes this sort of living guardian or guardians of the Force, almost something along the lines of a new Mortis god, or gods, which is why the father was interested in Anakin in the first place. But let's not get too far into the weeds with this, or any further, I should say. This is already a lot of crazy, but again, I'm working with what the last movie, with The Rise of Skywalker, left me with, and just kind of forming some ideas on the go here. And so anyway, what would the actual movie be about, since we've now established a rather silly foundation? Well, let's say that all Skywalkers are supposed to become these Force guardians after they die, but one is missing, that being Ben Solo, that he either didn't become one like he was supposed to, or he became one and is just elsewhere or something. And since Rey had a dyad with Ben, not only is this affecting her on some level, maybe her connection to the Force is affected by all this, and she's unable to harness it the way she needs to, and it's thus affecting her ability to train the next generation and build the Jedi Order. And Luke thinks that, again, because of the dyad between them, between Ben and Rey, that she can help him find Ben or what happened to him. And so Rey and maybe one of her students, and perhaps Finn as well, they end up going on this sort of adventure across the galaxy with limited Force powers, or Rey has limited Force powers. And Luke will show up from time to time. Since he's a Force ghost, he can't just kind of tag along full time. He pops up here and there to explain things, or to tell her what he's found out through being a Force ghost and all of that. And so this would be a movie that explores the Force, the purpose of the Jedi, and the history of Ben and Luke. We would get more than a couple brief flashbacks to the final moments between them, or when their relationship is shattered in the hut that fateful night. And instead we would start to see where things went wrong with them over time. There would be a lot of flashbacks in this movie, in other words, to Ben and Luke. That would then tie into Rey and training her own Jedi. And so yeah, that's my initial crazy off the top of my head idea that would need a whole lot more thought put into it, I will admit. But really my main goal with any movie that I would do, any Rey movie, would be to bring Luke and Rey together in a very positive way to hopefully help build up and repair these characters. It'd also be about trying to fix some of the damage done to the Force or its lore after The Rise of Skywalker very much broke it. Well, that's going to be all I got for you this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think the biggest hurdle for the Rey movie is to overcome, or give me your version of what that movie should look like, or tell me what you think about my crazy version. Or you can also ask a question for a future lightning response video. Just start your comment off with "Hey Thor" to get my attention and ask away. Whatever you choose to do though, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.